Hello, my friends. I am Karen Mays, and I have a few minutes unexpectedly. My kids went to a friend's house, so I'm going to spend a few minutes with you chatting about perspective. I'm reminded right now of a really wonderful saying. I forget who said it first, but when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And that is the essence of what I want to talk to you about today. There's a lot of different ways to put that into practice, but what was on my mind earlier today, I was thinking back for some reason about when I was in my 20s, a long time ago. I drove across the country from the New York area, Connecticut, once from Connecticut, once from Maine. Anyway, when I was in college, across the country to where I was going to school and living in Los Angeles. Did that 3 times. And at the time, going back to the dinosaur ages here, this is before the internet existed as we know it today. So there was no Google Maps. So our version of turn-by-turn directions back then were going to AAA and getting a triptych. And so my friend that I was driving with and I, we did that each time. We took a different route each time. The first time we did kind of the most straightforward one where you're on the 40 most of the way across. Got to drive down south to the 40. Anyway, that was, in any way that you go, you get this little notebook. It was like a thin spiral bound notebook, and it would be a page for a certain leg of the journey. And so we would be able to keep track of where we were and if we were on the right track with our triptychs from AAA. It was pretty awesome. It was an incredible adventure. So different doing it today. Still an adventure. But I can't believe this is before cell phones. I refused to call my mother every night. It was terrible. Anyway, we drove across the country 3 different times, and when you have a long journey ahead of you like that, it's, you focus on the increments. We would take it an hour at a time, 100 miles at a time. And sometimes a journey is like that. And it can be the same with a health journey. You got to focus on the next little bit, the next millimeter, the next micro habit, the next hour, the next time you fuel your body in a healthy way, the next opportunity to make a healthier choice. And then sometimes, and that would be zooming in, looking at the small steps, where you're progressing on the page of the journey. And then sometimes it's really beneficial to zoom out and take a look at the larger map of the entire country and say, how far across the country have I made it on this journey? How far have I moved the needle? It's this far across the United States. If you're looking at it when you first start, you can barely appreciate it. But then after a few days, you see, oh, we're halfway there. So sometimes when you're feeling discouraged and you need a little dose of a change of perspective, you can zoom in or zoom out. If you're really focused on the big goal and how it seems really daunting, it's a tall mountain to climb. It's a long way. That's when it's a good time to really zoom in and look at the next small step in the right direction. The next milestone. There are always milestones to focus on. For me in my health journey, it was every 10 pounds. Every 10 pounds was a milestone, and it was exciting. I would have a little private celebration. I would text my coach whenever I got into a new decade. And they came fast at first. I started out at 270 pounds, so right away I was in the 260s, and so they came pretty fast, and then a little slower later on. And so when the milestones started to come a little bit more slowly, it's time to shift the focus. Still have that going, but then shift the focus to another milestone. Zoom out. Look how far you've come. By doing the work every single day, oh my gosh, look how far you've come. This is literal things that happened on my journey. Oh my gosh, you can fit into a kayak in April that you couldn't fit into in December. oh my gosh, you can start dreaming of doing things that you didn't think were possible a year ago. You know, you can start taking tennis lessons. I mean, I could do tennis lessons before, but it would have been a bit more painful, a bit more difficult, and I just didn't feel like it. I just didn't have the energy. And so it's this constant process of zooming in and zooming out, zooming in and zooming out. And the name of the whole point is to focus on the progress, on the success, the wins, and then go make more of those. Doesn't matter how small they are. Focus on the progress. Focus forward. It's the only way to get where you want to go. If you are overwhelmed by the journey, if I'd been overwhelmed by how long it was going to take us to drive from New York to Los Angeles 20-something years ago, I could have just sat in Connecticut and said, oh, that's going to be hard. But by driving a few hundred miles every day, eventually we made it there. And the same is true. The same is true. And when a literal journey, my health journey, for example, is going to take more than a few days, it's a constant process of that zooming in and zooming out, looking at the progress, looking at the wins, looking at the opportunities. Because pain can get you started. I don't want to be in New York. I want to be in Los Angeles where my classes and my friends are and everything is going on. That's where my life is now, in Los Angeles. This is back then. I'm back in Connecticut now, but I'm in Connecticut. I want to be in Los Angeles. I need to focus on getting to Los Angeles. And if I just sit here and think about how hard it's going to be to get there, I'll never get there. So make some progress. Make a decision to move forward. Whatever your Los Angeles is, whatever your 100-pound journey is for you, start making some progress. And if you need help, that's okay. Because you know what? Changing your life is not done in solitary confinement. I can tell you that from experience. And it's actually borne out in research. People who change their lives do it in community. Of course, ultimately, it's up to you. You got to be the agent for change in your own life. But part of that is engaging with community and hanging out with people who are working on a similar goal, who probably have similar values. So that's what's on my mind. Do you need to zoom in or zoom out? Let me know. And if you want to talk about my 6-week health challenge coming up, it starts on Monday. It is not too late to join. So reach out if you want to have a conversation about that. Have a great day, everyone.